Now let's go back a bit to the situation in Rivers State. As earlier highlighted on the news, the court sitting in Port Harcourt has barred the chief judge from receiving or acting on any request or document linked to the impeachment move against the governor and his deputy. Earlier introduced, Malachy Ugwumadu joins us now. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you very much for being here with us. Does this interim order effectively freezes the impeachment process against the governor and his deputy?
Well, again, thank you for having me. What the operative word there is interim order, and you have used that, in my view, address it. Once you hear interim order, it is in the interim. It does not permanently terminate the process or procedure. However, it puts on hold pending the hearing of the substantive application or the motion on notice, considering that they had approached the court by way of an ex parte application, which is permissible under the law, but in very definitive circumstances. Having said that, that lends to a legal explanation. But there are also other angles to it, namely that our laws and jurisprudence have been so well developed, at least to the extent where the Supreme Court of Nigeria has, in a plethora of cases, admonished that no arm of government shall have the power or the right or the right to stop the other arm of government from discharging the functions of their office. In this case, what has immediately played out in my head is that the executive, headed by the governor and the deputy governor, Professor Ngozi, has activated the powers of the court to stop the legislature, from proceeding with the process. That is not very settled, in my view, until events unfold.
But is it possible for this ruling to legally bound the House of Assembly from proceeding for at least this 7 days that has been given?
Now, what you have is an ex parte order. If you read the order carefully, you will see that the order has also requested that the respondent, defendant, to be put on notice. That service on them will activate their right to challenge or dispute the propriety of what has happened. So when we get to that stage, we'll know it. But the point I was making, which must be emphasized, because we're in a country of rule of law, is that you cannot ask the legislative arm of government not to proceed in the discharge of the functions of their office as a constituted arm of government.
Okay, I think you've made that point clear. Because
let me make it clearer. What you can do is to challenge the propriety of what they have done in the discharge of that function. In other words, was it properly? Did they properly exercise their power or not? You can challenge that, but you cannot say, don't do it.
Okay. So we know it's a lengthy process. I'm sorry to interject, but I need to get more from you in the short time that we have. We know it's a lengthy process, about 11 steps. And the fourth step of the impeachment process is affording the governor the opportunity to reply to the allegations against him. That is part of the process, and we know it takes time to get there. From what is playing out and the way that this process is going, do you think that should this process proceed, that opportunity will be availed to the governor, or politics as usual will be played and the process will go on?
You know, we are not very good in speculations. As lawyers, we deal with the facts and apply the laws to those facts. However, as a student of history and one who is sufficiently interested in the state of affairs and the polity applied, I can tell you that there's no way he will not be availed that opportunity to defend himself. If he doesn't, again, the Supreme Court says that will terminate that process. Because from the sections you are looking at, I'm glad you mentioned subsection 4. From subsection 1 to 9, if there is any transgression, if there is any disobedience, whether in time of form or with respect to this opportunity to defend himself and respond to the petition, the entire process will be completely turned overboard. In short, the court will, most of the impeachment exercises that were overturned were on account of refusal to comply with any of the subsections 1 to 9 of the same subsection that put.
Okay.
So if he does it, it operates well in his favor. It knows in his favor because it takes advantage of that to demobilize what they're doing.
All right, this is not a strictly legal question either, what I'm about to say. It's more of your thoughts from what we've seen so far. A couple of days ago, we saw some of the lawmakers, I think 4 of them, come out to urge caution and advise that other options should be reviewed. Now they are back in the fold, and they are going back to the fact that the governor has failed in certain areas. I think the grounds for impeachment has to do more with evidential accusation pending investigation. What are your thoughts on these allegations that we hear of gross abuse of office, yet we don't know what these crimes are? Or aren't we entitled to know why the governor is being impeached?
I don't entirely agree with you, even if I accept your conclusion. The reason I put it that way is that there is a very serious abnormality in the wide discretion that vests in the State House of Assembly and by extension, the National Assembly in the process of recalling or removing a governor. That nebulous word of gross misconduct, which is extremely very subjective in the language of the Constitution, namely, that it is in their view, whatever constitutes a gross misconduct is in the view of the members of the State House of Assembly. Whatever they say is gross misconduct is what it is. That has caused a lot of political turmoil and very unsettling circumstances in most sub-regional states of the country. And I say this because by the time this notice of impeachment was announced, many people were taken aback because it was as though the situation was coming down, incrementally, progressively. They were coming back gradually as a state. Because we all remember the interventions of Mr. President. We all remember the peace accord that they had.
Yeah, I mean, in the press,
the Council of Elders.
Yeah, in the press that was given by the lawmakers, they thanked the president for his efforts, and then they said the situation seemed not to be. I mean, like you and most Nigerians were taken aback. Everybody thought that they all being in one party, just like at the federal level, that things would be slightly different. But it is what it is, and hopefully we'll have some resolution in the near future. Thank you very much, sir, for obliging us.
I thought I was just going to conclude by saying the movement of teachers by way of protection has clearly demonstrated that it has nothing to do with the ideology of politics, but self-preservation by politicians.
Thank you again.